Hello, good morning, Uncle Nate.
Hi.
Looks like you're sitting outside on a nice, beautiful chair and porch there. um, I heard that, or I know that you are a skilled craftsman. So, could you tell us a little bit about some things that you have made?
Well, the chair that I'm sitting in actually here, let me give you a better angle on it so you can see. This chair that I'm sitting in right here, I built this chair, and then
Wow,
I made another one over here.
very
Okay.
nice. And
Okay.
what did you
So,
need in order to make those chairs?
well, I didn't know how to build a chair to start off with, so I actually went online. I did a Google search. I wanted to build a chair that would fit on my new deck, and so I searched. This kind of chair is called an Adirondack chair. So I looked it up and I found instructions online,
Mhm.
and they told me all the things that I needed to use to build these chairs. And in order to put them together, I needed to use some power tools. And so, you know, I got to do what I got to do. So I went out and I bought some power tools. Um, this is a screwdriver, believe it or not. Sometimes it doesn't really look like a screwdriver, but you can see the end that'll fit right into a screw. And I've got that. I've got a drill. So they're almost the same, except that the tip is different. This one digs holes. This one puts a screw in a hole, right? And then a good old trusty hammer. And then this thing, this is really important. And I'll tell you why in a little bit. But this is really important. What this does, I don't know if you can see the bubble in there. You see the bubble going back and forth?
Uh-huh.
When I put this on top of something and it is flat, the bubble is right in between those two lines. And then this way, it's straight up and down. And this one is exactly at 45 degrees.
Mm.
Okay? So it's called a level. So this tells you if something that you have made is flat.
Mhm.
And you can that kind of thing is important, because if you made a table that wasn't flat and you put your bowl of soup on the table, the whole thing's gonna spill out all over the place, right? So
Mhm.
these are not all the tools that I use, but these are some of the most important ones that
Nice. And what about the wood? What kind of wood did you use?
I had. So I use regular pine for this. Um, I went down to Home Depot and I bought a whole bunch of wood and I cut it to the right shape. I had another tool that's called a jigsaw that cuts these nice round edges here. Um, and then right up here on the top, you see how this is rounded off. And but you notice that this wood looks kind of orange.
Mhm,
It's not. Pine wood is more like white,
mhm,
right? It's more like what you see on the deck here, this color. It's
mhm.
more like brownish, not quite as orange as this. So why is this one orange? Well, I put a special coating on here so that I can leave it out here on the deck. Out
Oh,
here on the deck, there's sun,
mhm,
there's wind,
mhm,
there's rain. Every morning, these chairs are wet because of the dew in the morning,
uh-huh,
and so wood does not like water all that much.
mhm,
It gets wet, then the wood soaks it up, and then it gets all crackly, and you can get moldy. And
mhm.
um, this is not a very expensive wood, and so I had to protect it. I had to put a special coating on it so that it could stay out here, and I wouldn't have to be out here cleaning it off all the time.
Makes sense, makes sense. Very nice. I like your chair. It looks, very well made.
It's really big. Like I can sit here, pretty comfortably, but I'm a pretty I'm you know
And you
I'm a
put
full grown adult.
I'm guessing you use the level to make sure that the armrests are straight,
Yes,
right? So you can
yes.
rest something on there.
I could put a cup of water here, or
Yeah.
like a fruit punch or whatever. I could put it here, and it's not gonna fall over. I can put probably not all of my kids, but maybe two of them. They can sit side by side in here.
Very fun. That's so cool. So today we're talking about building things in the Bible. And Uncle Nate here, obviously, is great for this lesson because he knows how to build things and he knows what goes into it. And so today we're talking about God and what's called a tabernacle. Uncle Nate, could you tell us what is a tabernacle and why did God tell Israel to build it?
Well, the tabernacle, it's kind of like it's like a moving temple. The temple, I don't know if you guys remember this from other Sunday school lessons, but the temple is this giant building made out of stone and metal, and they built it up and it didn't move. It was in Jerusalem, it stayed there. It was on a hill, everybody could see it, and it was ginormous. It was really big. Um, but in the period of time that we're talking about in our Sunday school classes right now, the Israelites, they are not staying in one place. They're
Mhm.
moving from time to time. They have to pack everything up and move to another spot. Um, and so, because they were doing that, they needed a temple that could be moved. It could be taken apart and packed up onto the wagons and the carts and the donkeys and everything, and then shipped off to the next location. And once they get there, just like when you go camping, you get there, you get to your location, you find a nice spot for it, nice flat spot, maybe you use a level, and you get out there and you break out all the tabernacle pieces and you lay them out and you connect them all together, and then hey, look, you've got another temple.
Mhm. And so Israel used the tabernacle, or God gave Israel the tabernacle. So it's a place for them to meet God and worship Him, right?
That's right.
Just like I think God was establishing his kingdom, Israel was going to be his people. And usually kings have like a castle, right? Or kings have a place where they sit, there's a throne room. And even in the tabernacle, God had a seat, right? I think they called it a mercy seat. And he gave
Mm-hmm.
all these really specific instructions for how to build it, what material he needed to use. Do you remember some of those things that God told Israel?
Well, I looked through the passage right when Auntie Steph sent it over to me, and because I was so used to reading construction instructions, right? How to build things. The first thing that popped out to me was like, there's all these different materials that they. It's just a list of materials, just like I found on the internet. You know, you need pine wood, you need screws, you need the stain, you need the drills, you need all these different things. Well, in this passage, they talk about, well, what number one, what kind of wood are you going to use? So they use a special kind of wood called acacia wood.
Mhm.
It's hard for us to find here because it's very valuable, and it's so valuable because um, acacia wood. Remember how I was saying that pine wood is a cheap wood? It's not very expensive because when it gets wet and it gets beat on by the sun, it'll start to rot and crack. Acacia wood doesn't do that.
Oh.
It's resistant to bugs and resistant to mold, and so you don't have to do a lot to it. You just have to build your building, and the acacia wood will do the rest of the work. And
Mhm.
so it was so the tabernacle, the walls and everything built
Mhm.
mostly of acacia wood.
Mm.
Um, some other things that stood out to me, there's some gold that they use in there. We know that gold is very valuable.
Mhm.
Silver,
Mhm.
and they used some silk
Mhm.
for the curtains,
Mhm.
and then they took some fibers and they dyed them bright red,
Mhm.
um, and some other cloths that they had that were purple. So
Mhm.
there's a lot of colors. There's a
Mhm.
lot of fine, really valuable materials. Gold, silver. These are materials that when the Israelites read this, they read this instruction manual. They say, okay, we got to get all this stuff, guys. When they read this, they say, wow, we got to find this stuff. We got to go find the gold.
Yeah.
Where do we have the gold? That stuff's valuable. Where do we keep the gold? And
Yeah.
so they would have to go look for these things.
Yeah, and I think these things, it just shows us that God deserves, as their king, right? He deserves really good quality stuff. These are all things you would use for a king. And God's showing them that you're not going to just build me something out of really cheap materials. You're going to use some good quality materials because I'm your king and you're going to use this as a place of worship for me.
Right.
And God, like you said, He provided so many specific instructions. And it, again, it kind of shows God's creativity too. He's the architect of all of this and he's giving them the instructions. They didn't have to think about it. It was almost kind of easy for them. They just had to find all the materials. And then God even provided the people. It says that he provided gifted craftsmen to build it. So they
Mhm.
didn't even need to worry, well, what if I'm not good at this? Moses is saying, I'm not good at building this stuff, right? And God even says, well, these specific people with these names, they actually are going to do it. And I already gave them the gift, right? And so God is making it easy for them. Um, and and Israel just needs to follow the instructions, just like all the commandments that he gives. They just need to follow his instructions.
Well, and it's just like me in building these chairs. I didn't, like I said, I didn't know how to build these chairs
Hmm.
when I started.
Hmm.
But luckily, somebody had already done the work. Somebody already made all the measurements. They knew how to cut this. They knew how far apart these boards were supposed to be. But I'll tell you this, I told you how I was going to talk about my other chair. This is the good one, okay?
Okay.
Like I told you, this is flat. I can put a cup of water here and it's not going to be a problem. It's pretty solid. I
Yeah.
can lean back in here and I'm not worried about it falling over. Let's go over to the other chair real quick. Okay. So this is the first one that I built. Now you can look at it, and from a distance it looks okay. But if you look up close, you can see this is not it's not really holding together all that well. It's a little bit more slanted,
Hmm.
and like from time to time it has fallen down a couple times, and I've had to tell people, "Oh, don't sit in that one. That's not the good one." That's what happens when I tried to do it myself. When I can do this. I can build a chair, no problem.
Yeah.
So I didn't really follow the directions exactly.
Hmm.
That's what happens. You end up with a chair that doesn't hold a person, which is not a chair, right? That's just a pile of wood. You follow the directions, then you get something that somebody can sit in, right? Something that you can sit back in, you can relax, and you don't have to worry about it falling over. So yes, follow the directions.
So God is giving Israel specific instructions on what to do, the material they need, how to build it, even gives them the people to build it. And then um, he gives them basically instructions on how to worship him, right? Through the tabernacle. There's like these
Mhm.
sacrifices that they need to do, there's these priests that need to do and wear specific things. He's building a whole new place of worship for Israel.
Right,
He's teaching
right.
them how to worship him, right? And but then it makes me wonder, we are not Israelites again, right? We don't have a tabernacle. So then how are we supposed to worship God, and what do we do about the tabernacle now?
Well, so we've been learning about the Ten Commandments, and we've been learning about the sacrifices and all these different things that applied to Israel. And Auntie Stuff's right. We are not Israel, so we can't really say, "Oh, yeah, every time you tell a lie, you have to go kill a cow." We don't say things like that, right? We have a different reality in our lives,
Mhm.
and the Bible does tell us that the temple. Okay, so we're talking about the tabernacle as the moving temple, right? And eventually they built a building where God also lived in there. But eventually that temple was also destroyed.
Mhm.
Okay, and but the Bible tells us that once Jesus came and
Mhm.
once Jesus died for our sins, that we actually became the temple.
Mhm.
That the community of God, when we come together and we worship together, we are the building. we it's all built up to get We are all built together to create that throne room, that the place that when people look at it, they say, this is where God lives.
Mhm.
God is in the midst of these people.
Mhm.
And so when you see all of us gathering together, it's not the building
Yep.
that we're sitting in, it's not the chairs that we sit in, it's the people gathered together are the temple of God.
Mhm. So when we think about church, sometimes we think about that sanctuary building we go to, or where we go drive to worship together. But that's not the tabernacle. It's actually the people. is what you're saying. And
Yes.
we, the church, the people in the church, the people who believe in Jesus as their Lord and Savior, believe that He died for our sins and we can have forgiveness through that, and that He rose again. We, the people who believe, the Christians, are the new temple. We show people how to worship God, how to love God, how to love others. And so we don't need a building tabernacle or this moving tabernacle or temple. It's because God is now showing people who He is through us who believe in Him, right?
And the other thing to think about, the other thing to think about is all these fine materials that they use to build the tabernacle, the acacia wood, the gold, the silver, the silk, the fine color, the brightly colored cloth, all these things. When people look at these buildings, the tabernacle, if they were to visit the Israelites in the desert, and they see this building in the middle of their encampment, wow, where'd you guys get all that gold? Where'd you get all the acacia wood? This is a gorgeous building. This is really, really nice.
Mm-hmm.
It must have taken you a long time to build that. They look at the building, they see the fine materials, and they are amazed. They say, wow, somebody important must live there.
Mm.
And so, and the Israelites say, you know what? You're right. That's where my God lives. My God lives in that building.
Yeah.
Same with the temple, marble and really big, heavy stones all put together, because that's where my God lives.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if we're the temple now, what are the fine materials that put together the building? What is the gold? What is the acacia wood? Is it a really nice haircut? Is it the longer your beard, the nicer, the prettier the building? Is that how it works?
Oh no, we lost the sound.
Coming together, the Christians coming together to worship, and they see, oh, well, hey, the other day, Uncle Nate said something to Auntie Steph that wasn't very nice, but she forgave him, and they still love each other like brother and sister. I wonder why that's actually pretty neat. That's a very appealing part of this community. I really enjoy that. There must be something important going on there. Why is it that people who treat each other not necessarily so nicely can forgive each other?
Mm-hmm.
Why is it that people are so giving, so generous to each other? Well,
Mm-hmm.
these are the fine materials that when people look at it, they say, wow, there's something about that. Why is it so nice? Why is that community so alive? Why is it so vibrant? Well, because that's where my God lives. My God lives in the midst of those people,
Mm-hmm.
and I am there too. And that's where we house the throne of God.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's what's really important for us to realize, is that when people look at us, they are seeing the temple of God. They
Mm-hmm.
see the fine materials in our behavior, and our love for one another, our generosity, our forgiveness, our grace
Mm-hmm.
towards one another.
Yeah, and we can't do this without God changing us.
Yep.
So we give all credit to God for helping us to be more like Him. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to do this, right?
Yes,
So
totally.
God provided the material and the instructions, and He showed everyone to Israel, through Israel, who He was, how holy He was as their king. And for us, He shows Himself through us, how He can change us to follow Him, how we can love others like Him. And even though we fall short, like you said, we still have forgiveness. We still have a lot of work to do in in learning how to follow God's instructions to love like Him and be like Him. But hopefully together we can reflect God's goodness.
Well, and let me just plug for the Sunday school teachers and all of your teachers that are above you. You know, they didn't know how to in Israel. They didn't know how to build a building. I didn't know how to build a chair. But God appoints expert craftsmen that show you how it's done.
Yeah.
Okay. I look on the internet and I find the right instructions and I follow them exactly so that I can build a chair that you can sit in.
Mhm.
And just like this, you might be asking yourself, I don't know how to be unselfish. I
Mhm.
don't know how to be forgiving. I don't know how to be loving. How am I supposed to do this? How am I supposed to be like this?
Mhm.
Well, that's why you listen to people like Auntie Steph. This is why you listen to people like Uncle Theo. And Auntie Steph is listening to other people too, right? We're all learning. I'm listening to other people all the time,
Mhm.
trying to learn more about how to be more like Jesus, how to be more attractive
Mhm.
to the outside world, to show people this is what the love of God is.
Mhm.
So that's why we keep coming to Sunday school. That's why we keep listening, because we want to learn how to build a temple.
Yeah. Thank you, Uncle Nate, for partnering with me in building this temple and teaching the kids how we can be the new temple. And we don't have to go build a tabernacle for God anymore, that He's
Right.
already given us the materials. So thank you, Uncle Nate, and thank you for teaching us about chairs and how to build stuff and
You're
tools.
all welcome to come over and sit in this chair. Don't sit in that one. You can sit in the.
Thank you, Uncle Nate.
No
We will
problem.
see you next time.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.